That is a 1974 Ford F100 four-wheel drive, not a 250, not a highboy. I know it gets mistaken for that a lot because it's lifted up a little bit with some 35s under it. Long backstory on this truck. In fact, I have a video that kind of introduces the truck. I'm going to link that up here if you guys want to go back and see that. But long story short is, when I bought the truck, it was absolute pile of garbage. It didn't have a single body panel on the whole truck that was usable, not one. The truck was used by somebody that that cuts wood for a living, lived up on top of Signal Mountain in Tennessee. And well, to say it had a hard life is an understatement, because he used it to basically go way up on top of these hillsides and stuff and fill it full of wood and, you know, bring it back down. Did this for years with it. And I think he threw the wood at it, and if it made it in the truck, it made it in the truck. If it hit the side, who cares? Had a 360 FE in it that was supposed to be a 390, but there again, all 360s are supposed to be 390s. There's no way to tell the difference. You just gotta measure the stroke. I bought the truck anyway. It was like, I think I gave a few $100 for it. It wasn't much. And engine had been freshly rebuilt. There's another clue. Freshly rebuilt engine, not good. It was building up pressure in the crankcase and blowing the dipstick tube out under higher RPMs, like highway riding. Come to find out, all the PCV system was literally shut with bolts in it. Had a bolt in everything that could possibly vent, and the valve cover cap was actually one of the kind that goes on and seals. So whoever rebuilt it, they weren't real clear about what was going on. Over a short period of time, we started developing some hot oil pressure issues, and it kind of went downhill from there. Started hearing a little rattle, little chatter, into a full-fledged rod knock. I literally intended to buy the truck just to go back and forth on my property, because there's a lot of woods behind my house and it's all rough and gross. I wanted something that I didn't care to get beat up, something that was already beat up, and man, that fit the bill. So I decided, well, I'm just going to improve it a little bit. I'm just going to do a few little things to make it a little bit better. I'll put some pictures in here of what that looked like. To say the project spiraled, understatement. Anyway, as we sit here today, we have a 390, an actual 390, a for real 390 that started and ran and drove great. It was a very usable truck. Man, I drove this thing. I drove it quite a bit when I was driving it. Now, sadly, it's been sitting here parked for quite some time. Maybe not here, but it's been parked in my shed back there, in the hall of my shed, for quite some time. I was going to retrieve my deer blind in the middle of snow one year up on the side of the hill, and as I was trying to maneuver the truck, every time I would move forward or backward just a little bit, the truck would slide just a little bit toward a tree. Ended up getting it into the side of a tree on the bedside there, and just caved it in spectacularly. Just made an absolute mess out of it. I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but it kind of hurt my spirit a little bit as far as the truck goes. A little while later, some friends of ours, we were riding along at night back in some of these trails behind my house, and I may have been driving a little, let's call it spirited, and I may or may not have had a big rock that I kind of went over that I probably shouldn't have, that bent the drive shaft a little bit, put a ding in the drive shaft. Didn't like taco it, but it's enough now that when you drive down the road, you've got a driveline vibration that you know isn't going to last long. Since it's been sitting here, it's developed another issue. This is the issue we're going to tackle today. When you get it started, it's running like absolute garbage, and when you try to give it any RPMs at all above maybe 1500 or 2000, it starts misfiring and popping and backfiring. Actually, it popped and backfired so bad that it split the muffler, literally blew the muffler out, and now it sounds like a dang race car. I had the thing sounding really nice and quiet, and so it did that. So I don't know exactly what I think is going on with that. I have a feeling that it's probably the Duraspark module. See, this thing was originally points, and even the engine that's in it is from 68, and it was a points motor as well. So I don't know really why I did this, but I did convert it from points to Duraspark, which I think was probably going backwards because Duraspark is notoriously unreliable. Anyway, I've got a couple of extra Duraspark modules in the toolbox, along with my old points distributor and all that stuff. So I'm going to put that module on there, and we're going to see if that straightens it out any. And if it does straighten it out, I might just go crazy and convert this thing back to points, because I never have any problems with points. In fact, I've got a few vehicles with points and I just have no issues whatsoever. Keep them adjusted, keep a little cam lobe there thing lubed up good, and they serve well. So let's start with getting the thing started, and I'll let you hear what it's doing, and we'll see if we can limp it up a little closer to the shop here in a minute and kind of go from there. All good projects start with popping the hood, and if that looks like a handle to a pair of pliers, it's because that's what it is. I didn't do that, but sure is handy. The old FE 390. She's a Butte, Clark. This battery here is so beyond dead that it's not even funny. These little jump boxes like this, man, they are so handy, because these particular ones, they don't have any computers in between you and your voltage. As soon as you plug it in, it's hot right now. You don't have to like have a battery that has some voltage and all that garbage to make it work. Just works. Now I've got an electric fuel pump on this, and that really helps a lot with the cold starts. So let me get her fired up here, and you'll hear what I hear. Okay, there we go. So it started and ran, but man, it smells like just raw fuel. I don't know if that's actually raw fuel or if that's something else, but listen to what I hear. All that smoke, that's fuel. It's gonna quit. Too much fuel. Okay, let's see if we can get it moved around here then. You know, the way that thing is smoking and the way it's choking you to death, it's running extremely rich. I think that's part of our problem. Now we're kind of set up here. I went ahead and hooked up my timing light, and I also hooked up a little battery charger here to the battery. I don't have any fear that it's going to take a charge, but we're going to see what happens here. I'm going to have to start it a few times. I'm going to verify this base timing. And what I've done off camera is I have rolled the balancer over, or rolled the engine over, and I have marked, that bottom mark there is going to be 0, the next one will be 10, and the top one there will be 20. So it'll be a little easier to see with the timing light on it. Also, since the fuel in this thing is about 155 years old and it's pretty much out, I went ahead and added 5 gallons of good fresh ethanol-free gas. And, you know, heck, bad gas may have something to do with some of this. I don't know. But let's get we'll get the breather off of it, and I got to find something to plug the vacuum, what do you call that thing? The time in advance, vacuum advance. There it is, vacuum advance. It was right there on the tip of my tongue. I got to plug up the vacuum advance hose so we don't lose sweet magical vacuum. the old Edelbrock there. It's always been a really good running carburetor. Like I said, I am running an aftermarket electric fuel pump, and I've got probably the worst fuel pressure regulator that mankind has ever seen, and then a fuel pressure gauge there just to make sure that I'm not giving so much fuel pressure that I'm overloading that needle and seat there. So I guess the thing to do is see if we can get the truck to start and get it to idle, and then we can move along toward our tests. Yeah, the battery's showing 8 volts. That's just not going to work, is it? Let's back up and do something different here. Let's just pull this battery off or out and see if we can get one in here that'll actually start somewhat reliably. That's a quick release battery cable. That's fine. Nothing to see here. Also quick release. Again, nothing to see here. Move it along. No, I don't have a battery hold down. Should I? Much smaller battery. All right, now will it start? Well, not sure if you can see it or not, but we are pretty much right on 10 degrees. And I believe that's about what the truck wants, about 10. What does our fuel pressure look like here? About 4.5 pounds. Still just seems extremely rich to me. I don't know why. Strangely, that's running like much better. So what did we change here? I pulled the breather off. You don't think this breather, I bet you this is what it is. I bet this breather element is so full of garbage. It's actually wet. Look at this. I got stuff coming out of it. I wonder if it's just gotten so bad that it couldn't get enough air. But it's running okay now. We'll do a little more adjustment on that carburetor, see if we can make that idle even a little more crisp. What are we idling at here? About 570. Well, we were idling at 571. About 580 degrees. That's a little light. Let's turn that up just a little bitty bit. It's about 700 or so. It's still so rich. You can see all the smoke haze out there from this thing. It's just pouring fuel smoke, and it stinks like almost raw gas. I've got that carburetor. I'm going to try to lean that carburetor down as lean as it'll go and see if I can clean up some of that. If not, I may actually stick another DuraSpark module on there to see where we're at. I mean, timing's right. Fuel pressure seems right. I can drop it a little bit, but I'm kind of afraid to. I don't know. Let's lean the carburetor some, as much as we can lean it until it just barely does run, and see what that looks like. I'm just going to take both screws and just run them all the way to the bottom, light bottom, and then I'm going to open them a turn. Start the truck right there, and we'll adjust from there. down a little bit now. About 780 there. About 750 is where I think I want to go. It's pretty close right there. There we go, that's about right. Okay. Sounds a lot better. I've got a little bit of blue smoke coming over here, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's oil or if that's fuel. Could be oil. I don't know. What does our oil pressure look like? What do our vitals look like, as a matter of fact? Well, we got about 50 pounds oil pressure. We're charging good, and the temperature has yet to come off the needle. Wonder if it's got coolant in it. Maybe we should shut it down and check that too. Either way, it seems like it's running pretty decent. I was rummaging around down in my parts pile, and I found one of the old, I guess, OG Duraspark modules. I'm gonna swap it in here and see if the truck runs any better. It's just got kind of like a burble and a stumble. It's just not smooth, and it used to be smooth. So let's try that. When I added this thing, I put it right here on the fender where the jack hole down is. Figured a jack isn't going to do me any good in this truck anyway. It's too tall. All right, let's fire it up and see what that does. Well, that was a huge difference. You got to be kidding me. After all that, you probably, I don't know if you guys can hear it that well with this microphone or not. Yeah, big, humongous difference right there. It's as smooth as it can be. Okay. That seals it. We're gonna go back to points. I'm not gonna have any electronics. I'm not gonna deal with a bunch of electronics. I'm just gonna go back to points, call it a day. When I was down in my storage building, looking around, I came across this. This is the distributor that was in this engine when I first got it, and it ran so well. I have no idea why I decided to change that. That's probably pretty stupid of me, but live and learn. Get older and wiser. This has been a few years ago. Well, I think the only thing that I recall about doing this procedure and it being bad was the oil pump drive. If I remember right, it came out with the distributor, and I had a devil of a time putting it back. It's supposed to be retained in the oil pump, and evidently this one doesn't have its retainer, and as I recall, it fell out. Let's see how this works. Well, I need to get the engine on top dead center, just, you know, to make sure everything lines up right before I do this. I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just jump the solenoid to get that done. Close, almost exactly on it. Let's pop the distributor cap off and let's see if we are at top dead center or not, or on number one or not. Where's number one? Well, there's my distributor. Notice anything about it? Yeah, it's points. I don't know why. When I looked at that distributor cap, I didn't realize that it wasn't that big, humongous Duron distributor cap. You know, the one that's like 8 feet tall and 3 feet around. Evidently, I changed this out at some other point in my life. I just don't remember doing it. But you know what that means, don't you? That means that when I swap that ignition module in there, and that it made all that difference. It really did make all that difference. Evidently, I thought it did, but it didn't. So, yeah, I've already done this. How cool is that? Weird. Just going to check the vacuum advance and make sure that that's doing its thing while I'm here, because it still wants to kind of chop and break up at higher RPMs for some reason. So, yeah, that works fine. This one I don't really know what the deal is with this second thing here, but it doesn't really do anything. This is the one that does. Okay, so that actually works, and that's fine. Let's stick this back together here. I think in my playing around with this thing, I think I ended up putting the vacuum advance on the wrong port, or at least that's where I left it last time. This slot here should only get vacuum when the throttle blades are open, which under acceleration, which is where you want some vacuum advance to come in. So that's how that should be. I'm going to take it around like this. I'm just going to cut it about right here. There. All right. So that should be correct there. And this is on a full-time vacuum port. This is the HVAC controls going into the cab. This would always get vacuum. And I'm going to take this and just cap this thing off so it doesn't get debris in it. Let's fire it back up and see where we're at this point, now that we've pretty much done nothing except change where our vacuum hose goes. Well, our idle's way too low. It's back down at 526 because we changed the routing of this hose. So I'm going to ease that back up just a little bit here. About right there. And actually my timing is a little low right there. It's easing along somewhere around, I don't know, 7. I think I'm going to give it about 10. Alright, so that's got us about 10, and now my idle's back up to about 722, so let me adjust that back down some. Down around 700. See what our timing is, because our timing is going to go down as we slow the engine down because of the subscription advance. That is pretty close to 10 degrees, 680 RPMs. And let me do a little bit more leaning out on this thing. that. Well, that runs pretty good now. I've still got a lot of smoke. And I can't really tell if it's fuel or if it's oil, but it kind of smells like fuel to me, but it's just hard to tell. It is awfully blue and not very gray, but if I get over here in the stream, that's a little bit of oil, I think. Maybe it'll come around after it runs a few heat cycles and warms up. Like I said, it's been sitting for a long time, but it's running good. No more pops and no more burbles. I think it's worth going to town and get a battery for it. What do you guys think? Let's take Freedom. I had to stop by the store while I was out. I'm a sucker for these little Cokes in a glass bottle with real sugar. Fantastic. So here's my plan for this truck. Not this truck, the truck we're working on. You know, like I said at the beginning of my video, I'm trying to finish some projects up, because like I said, I've got so many projects that are, you know, in various stages of whatever. And I know I've really never worked on Gray Ford on the channel, but it is a project that needs to be finished. And the little 4Runner, the little 94 4Runner with the, you know, the bad engine that we got for like $700, the one that runs okay, I need to finish that one too. In fact, yesterday I started doing a little bit of filming, trying to get it worked back out, get it, you know, on the road. Because my ultimate goal is to get it put together, get it fixed, get it decent, sell it. Free up some room, and maybe take that cash and start to put it back for maybe some other project. I have this truck, which it doesn't need anything. I mean, I drive the wheels off this thing. And, you know, to say it's a project on the channel, and it's really not. It's just a truck on the channel. And, we have the 94 Dodge, the V10 powered Dodge that I've had since 1997 that I introduced you guys to on the channel. So there's that. Again, it doesn't really need anything. It's just going to be, you know, a truck that'll be with me because I've had it for so long. But really the two next projects, I guess, after getting this great truck sorted, getting the 4Runner sorted and sold, is the little Shelby GLHS. It's got an overheat issue and a few little things need to get done to get it very much roadworthy. And I'd like to be able to drive it some this spring. I've got to get all that worked out. I don't know how many of you guys saw that series, but basically I stepped on it a little too hard. Well, I didn't step on it too hard. I had a vacuum hose off the wastegate and evidently built all the boost and blew a head gasket. So I put a head gasket on it, got it all put back together, and it runs fine. But it's always had this problem where the temperature wants to creep up on it, and I don't think it's a head gasket because I'm not putting pressure. You know, I'm not dumping a lot of pressure in the radiator, and I'm not losing any coolant on the tailpipe. So I don't think that's what it is. I think it's a radiator problem. That radiator is, you know, original in the car, and it's not very big to begin with. And whenever you're hot dogging it and you're starting to build boost, it tends to want to creep up on you. So I think it just can't keep up. So I'd like to get that thing sorted out. And really the next thing after that, I think, for the channel is basically the Toyota pickup, the 87 Toyota pickup that we got for free way back in a previous episode. And I want to get that thing, and I want to go completely through it. I would like to make it just a cool little truck. I probably won't keep it. I'll probably, you know, go through it on the channel and get it up and going, get it somewhat pretty. I'll probably sell it, unless I grow attached to it. I tend to do that with stuff at school. But I've noticed when doing YouTube channel or YouTube videos and stuff like that, I've noticed that you have to have more than one thing going on, because you know, a prime example is I was filming yesterday on the 4Runner, and I think I need an igniter for it, and that igniter's several days out. So if you're going to put a video out, you know, it's going to be tough. So, you know, we can switch over and we can work on the old Ford for a while, and then we can jump back to that 4Runner. But I like to try to, you know, sort of stay focused on those two until they are both at least satisfactory. All right, get that kind of did up. So that's kind of my thinking. I'm going to go ahead today while I'm at O'Reilly, and I'm going to get, in addition to the battery, we'll get a fuel pump for it, because my plan is to return it back to the original fuel pump again, the mechanical fuel pump. I only put that electric pump on there just to solve an immediate problem. I had it laying around, fuel pump was dead on the truck, and so you know, that's what I did. But I'm not going to keep it like that. I'm trying to get back to simplicity, you know, the points and all that stuff, simplicity, and reliability also. And then I guess once that's done, I need to take care of that drive shaft, which is just going to be a matter of pulling the drive shaft and taking it to the drive shaft shop and either having it remade or repaired, or, you know, something. It's probably going to have to be remade, I would imagine. So last thing on the list, I think, for it will be that big humongous dent in the side. Yeah, they call it a Dentside, but it's probably not the reason to call it a Dentside. I actually have a stud gun welder, and I'm gonna try it. You know, bedsides are just really hard to come by. I mean, damn hard to come by, that are somewhat decent, and that one was really decent. So I'm gonna try to pull the dent out best I can and just see where we go with it. I hope it doesn't look like absolute hammered hell when I'm done with it. We're gonna try it. That'll probably be a couple videos out. That might be a good thing to do this winter when it's kind of cold outside. Go in there, turn the heat on in the shop, and proceed to make body panels, or I don't know. But anyway, I thought I'd lay out my game plan and where we're going with what, and kind of get everything back in line and get cleaned up and get running in a straight line again. Anyway, we're almost to O'Reilly now, so we'll jump out and get our parts and beat feet back home. Well, one trip to O'Reilly complete, and we have a battery and an air filter and an oil filter and a fuel pump ordered. It'll be tomorrow, but I wasn't going to do that today anyway. That's going to require some more plumbing. Now the Shelby can get its battery back. We appreciate it donating it, don't we? Plus it got a little bit of charge, so it wasn't all bad, was it? I'm actually not going to hook that battery back up. I've been going through this thing here lately where I heard some story about somebody's car catching on fire or whatever, or something, and then the other day I have a John Deere Gator that sits up in my little tool shed area, and I went to get in it the other day and it wouldn't start, and in fact it didn't have any power at all. So I got to playing around with it and realized that I didn't have any power coming from the battery up, and there's a packet of wires that goes from the back up through the floorboard area up to the front, and mice had gotten in that area and chewed that thing completely in half. Like, it wasn't even connected at all the wires were severed. And when I grabbed it to pull it back, it started sparking, and I'm like, man, that could have caused one heck of a fire right there, because down in that area where they were, it's all, you know, leaves and dirt and stuff like that. It's very flammable. So I'm kind of getting in a habit now of unhooking batteries on things that are questionable. And most of this stuff here, pretty questionable. And yeah, I'm gonna unhook that battery too when I'm done playing around for the day. Yep, I lost the wing nut. I distinctly remember picking it up and sitting it down somewhere thinking, I'm gonna put this where I don't lose it. This is why you keep collections of various things, instances just like this. This helps you find your original wing nut, because as soon as you get one of these, you'll find the other one. You know, the more I think about it, the more I think this was the whole problem with the truck not running right. I think this thing here was so completely saturated. It was wet with water when I pulled it out. I don't know how water's getting in there, but it was wet, and I can't see through it any at all. It's completely and totally plugged. So I wonder if this thing just wasn't making such a draw on the air intake system that it was just acting like a choke and enriching it to the point where it didn't run well. Because once we got in here and got to looking at it, I mean, what did we actually do at the end of the day? What did we actually fix at the end of the day? Our timing was a little lazy, so we got it, I think I probably put a total of about 4 degrees in it, and carburetor was a little on the rich side. Actually, it was a lot on the rich side. I think I'm total of about 2 turns in from where I started, so it's a lot leaner. And now our idle's down. You know, that's the other thing is I'm wondering if the idle was up so far that it wasn't on the idle circuit of the carb anymore. If the idle was open enough that it was exposing the transfer slots and pulling fuel through the primary metering system. So I don't know, but either way, the difference is absolutely stark. I mean, that thing runs 527 times better than what it did, and that's a lot. Well, let's take it up the driveway a couple of times and just maybe see how it acts and see how it behaves, and see if we have anything further to do during this session. All right, well, one thing's for sure, the truck's got good oil pressure. I mean, we're sitting better than 50 pounds here, and I know that I'm coming up with temperature a little bit. Truck's been running about 5 or 6 minutes, so let's see what we've got. I'm curious just to see if it's trying to break up at high RPM still, or if that's better. I'm just gonna go turn around down here at the end of my driveway and just kind of beat up and down the driveway. The truck doesn't have insurance on it right now. It's tagged antique, which are permanent, but it doesn't have any insurance, and I don't really want to get on the road without insurance. Just kind of roll into it in second gear, maybe get it in 4-barrel just a little bit, see what it does. I think it's still breaking up some. That may be carburetor, I don't know. So it runs a lot better. I think a lot of that breaking up that it was doing there after riding around with it a little bit, it seems to be getting better, like a lot better. And I also noticed it's not smoking anymore. So there's something to be said about that. So maybe getting out and running it just a little bit, maybe that's what's going to help it, you know, live. I don't know. But I feel good about what I got done here today. This is where I wanted to get started, just to get it out, reassess it, make it run again, and you know, get a good firm start on this. So that's probably going to do it for this video, guys. I don't really have a lot of time today to get into very much more, but on the next video we're going to go ahead and put a fuel pump in it. By then I'll go ahead and get some insurance so we can get it out on the road and actually ride around in it a little bit, and then we're going to tackle this this drive shaft. So as usual, guys, I appreciate you watching this video. If you haven't already, give me a thumbs up down there if you like this. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time.